Okay, so again, we are with the side chain ionization of our peptides, no? And when you look at what form would our side chain assume, no, when we are in solution. So you always have to compare the pKa, if not the pi of your amino acids, and that of the pH of the solution. Now, if you don't know the pi, then look at the pKa. Okay, so the pKa of this chain is 4, no? So this is much lower than the pH of the solution. The pH of the solution is 7, which is higher than the pKa, which is 4. Okay, so it's much higher. You expect this chain to be in the negative form. Remember, Wong mentioned earlier, this is in the negative form. The solution is, if the pH of the solution is greater than the pKa, the function group is unprotonated. Unprotonated, or in, for if you're dealing with carboxylic acid, this is in negative form. Okay, so if you are dealing with amine, no, the pKa is 11 and the pH is 7, no, the pH is much lower than the pKa, so you expect your side chain to be in positive form or protonated form. If the solution is, if the pH of the solution is less than the pKa, so the pH of the solution is 7, which is less than the pKa of this is 11, then the group is protonated. Or in other words, since the pH is much lower than the pKa of this, you expect this one to be in positive form, or the positive form or protonated form, pareharan na. Okay. So here you expect this one. So the pKa is approximately 9. The pKa is 2, no? So if the pH, if the solution is higher than the pKa of this, so you expect this to be in negative form. And here the pKa of this group is 9, and the pH of the solution is 7, which is lower than this. You expect this one to be in positive form. Very simple analogy. So if you're not sure which one, no, i-neutral na lang sa ninyo. If dili mo sure kung unsa, unless you're being asked, no, then you include the positive or negative form. But then if you're asked, what will be the net charge of this amino acid, you know, or this peptide at a pH 7? So you calculate positive, negative, neutral, positive, negative, neutral. So this one is in neutral form, neutral. Net charge would be 0. So there are also bioactive peptides with potent biological activities. It's already time. Have been identified in animals and plants. Of particular importance in humans are the peptide hormones. No? Peptide hormones are produced by glands of the endocrine system. So several peptide therapeutics are also used in modern medicine, but application has been limited to certain limitations. So peptide, we can have peptide drugs, no? They're used in therapeutics. Often they are to be injected into the bloodstream, no? Newer technologies, however, are making peptide drug delivery more practical. So some drugs, usually getting mga peptide drugs are very, very expensive, no? So there's also this growth hormone. Some China, not China, but yeah, China also did that. Some children before that they want to grow taller than the normal, so they actually had growth hormones injected into their system. So those are growth hormone, which is made up of peptide hormones. So those are just examples, but too often those peptides are used in therapeutic, used in medicine. No? Okay, so these are some of the examples of our peptides, no, that used. Several peptide hormones excreted by our system. These peptide hormones are produced by glands, regulate numerous activities in humans. So in the hypothalamus, it accumulates internal, external information from the central nervous system and coordinates responses to them. So since our body or system are releasing different hormones, no, which regulate different processes in the body, they have to be regulated. There are so many hormones in our system that needs to be regulated, because if one is high, the other should be. For example of that is in the endocrine glands. Now you have your thyroid hormones, no, etc. So these are some of the examples, and next meeting, we will be talking about the hierarchy, structural hierarchy of proteins, no? The one that I'm talking about is when we're talking about the different structures of protein, which are the primary structure, secondary, tertiary, and the quaternary structure. Here are some of the examples of the short peptides or peptides that are used as therapeutic hormones. For example, oxytocin, no? It stimulates the mammary glands to increase lactation. Okay, the major activation of antidiuretic hormone, you have the oxytocin and vasopressin. This is the structure. There's 1, 2, 3, 9 amino acid sequence or 9 residues, and there is 2 cysteine amino acid. Cysteine that is oxidized to form a cysteine bond. You have SS here. You have this structure. So these are some examples of the short polypeptides or peptides having therapeutic functions. Then you have your short peptides that you can find in some fungus, and then the aspartame, that's a sweetener, artificial sweetener. It's also a peptide structure that I'll ask you to identify that later. And then you have your bovine insulin. It's an insulin, it's a peptide hormone involved in metabolism and so on. So that ends our lesson for today. As I mentioned, next meeting will be talking on the protein structure, hierarchy of protein structure. So if you have questions, you can ask me, you can email me. And I have already shared the PowerPoint, no, in the I have already sent the PowerPoint in the LMS. You just check it out. And so if you have no more questions, it's already 1:32. I presume you have your classes. So I would like to respect that. So that ends our session today. And see you next meeting. If there is any announcement, I will just send an email to you. Yes. Do you have questions?
None so far, ma'am.
Nag-attendance na bang tanan, like print screen? Okay, then I have to. I just have to. If you have questions na during the discussion, feel free to ask me. No, if ma'am nakalimot ko sa organic chemistry, please elaborate, things like that. And by the way, I will check your credentials, no, if you have already finished organic chemistry. So if I can find anyone wala pa, then we will talk. Okay, if you have no more questions, please sure at isa. Then screenshot na bang tanan? I think the screenshot na. Okay, so I'll see you next meeting, and taman 2 p.m. ang attendance if you haven't joined. If wala na ko na post tuod, no, please remind me nga ma'am wala pa na post ang recorded for those who didn't attend our sessions, no? So they can study, they fail to attend our sessions. Okay, so that's all for today. I'll see you next meeting.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Okay, bye. Naka-record.